All right, hey guys, we got something very unique today. There's been some serious shite went down on New Year's Day. I have an actual legit former Green Beret over here, Green Beret Nap Time over here. He's got his his Twitter handle down there. We're gonna break down what everything that happened as far as the Las Vegas bombing with the Tesla Cybertruck. Nothing about this story makes any damn sense. The guy is or was an actual active duty 19-year Green Beret from 10th Special Forces Group. And we're going to break down all the information that we have as of right now, explain why none of the story makes any sense, and try to come up with some information that we can reveal to you so you can make your own decision on what you think that actually happened about this. GB, Green Beret, Nap Time. How you doing, man?
Hey, man. Good. Appreciate you having me on, Adam.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you so much for being here. Why don't you give the audience a little bit of a breakdown on your background?
I was a 13-year guy. I got out a little early because I was mainly the COVID thing pushed me and some other stuff. And I decided, hey, you know what? It's going to be better to just go do my own thing and get out from this point. But I was an X-ray, got in, and then went to the 3rd Special Forces Group after that. Did deployments to Iraq, Afghanistan, and then some JSETs to various other locations in either Central Asia or Africa. And then got out from there and did some other stuff for about a year. And now I'm contracting on base on Fort Bragg. Well, Fort Liberty is what the
screw that. It's not Liberty.
Yeah, it's always gonna be Fort Bragg. Absolutely.
That's always back in Bragg. Yeah, and that's one of the other things everyone's trying to make connections to. I mean, whether it's legit or not, the fact that Matt is Livelsberger. Matt was at Bragg. The Jabbar who did the New Orleans attack was at Bragg, and people saying that Routh, who was the second Trump attempted assassin, also went to Bragg for 150 something fucking times, which is really weird. But the fact that those three people.
It's not. I want to shut that narrative down right now. Fort Bragg, there's about 50,000 soldiers stationed there. Right. USASOC, JSOC, 1st Special Forces Command, 3rd Group, 7th Group was there, and they just moved in like 2011 or 12. I can't remember when they moved to down to Eglin Air Force Base. But it's and all the SWIC is there, so all of the higher level SF schools are there.
PSYOP is there.
Yeah, PSYOP's there. CA's there. Every soft unit is there. And so anything that you do, you're generally going to end up TDY'd to Bragg at some point in your career if you're doing anything soft related. And then, obviously the 82nd's there. And there's just a lot. It's the most visited TDY base in the United States. And there's 50,000 soldiers that are stationed there. So saying like, oh, these two dudes were at Bragg, even if they were there at the same time, it's like, oh, they were in Cincinnati at the same time. Okay. Like that. What does that prove? Anything? I don't know. Well, if they were in the same unit or if they were deployed together in the same unit or at the same camp, maybe, not even a fob. Fobs are huge generally. But so, yeah, that whole narrative that they tried to push initially, if that's the only link you have between the two dudes is they went to Bragg, well, guess what? So did hundreds of thousands of other active duty soldiers. So.
I was stationed there for 5 years. I might have been there at the same time. Am I connected?
Exactly. I mean, I was there during those times. Any times they went, I was there probably every time Ralph went. If he went 150 times, and if he's doing anything that has to do with any of the higher level training or anything like that, yeah, absolutely, he would be there. So
yeah,
that's not weird.
It's absolutely not. And believe me, I was going down that rabbit hole at the same time too, like everyone else was. But yeah, I'm down to the determination. It's probably nothing. But still, though, with the so I think that it does seem more and more like the two incidents probably not connected. But I'm not going to make any determinations right now. But we are going to go down the rabbit hole with the Cybertruck and Matt Livelsberger. So for those of you who don't know, the Cybertruck blew up in front of Trump Tower in Las Vegas, with the trunk being loaded up with gas canisters and fireworks inside a bulletproof truck, which the Cybertruck is in fact bulletproof. It's been proven, which means that this 19-year SF veteran didn't know that gas canisters and fireworks, side of a bulletproof truck, everything's just going to projectile upwards and not actually cause any damage and hurt anyone or kill anyone. So the questions now arise. Oh, and also he was found with a 50 caliber bullet lodged, blew his head up basically. So the body is unidentifiable at this time, as far as we know. They're doing DNA tests. This veteran who would have known better, he could have actually leveled that freaking building. So there's a lot of, and there's so many other things about this that doesn't make any sense. GB, can you break down what it is that you know so far? Because you've actually been in contact with people who currently is still in 10th group and knows this guy. So give us the information that you have, please.
Right. I think so. First, let's just start off with, I did a post about all the inconsistencies and why I think that either he didn't do it and then someone else and he's the patsy for it, or I don't know. I have a few different theories, but we'll go into first all these reasons why I think that this is a complete psyop. First and foremost being that you don't shoot yourself in the head before you blow up your bomb. I mean, bomb makers are a different breed, and when you make a bomb, you want to see that bomb go off. Whether that bomb and then it's kind of like a point of pride for that bomb to take you. That's why suicide bombers and all that kind of thing happen the way it does. Or there's often bombers that will die in their own bombings. So that doesn't make sense. And then the Desert Eagle 50 cal doesn't make sense to me because SF dudes, we use Glocks. Like, ask any SF dude. That's our secondary weapon that is issued to us, either a 17 or a 19. And the old SF guys did carry 1911s. So you will find some older SF guys that'll have used that. But like, there ain't no way. I mean, a Desert Eagle 50 cal no one's using that. You get 7 rounds. Like, what are you going to do with that in a combat situation? You might as well just have a revolver, and that doesn't make any sense either. So that one's a weird one. The rifle that he had, the pictures of that, there's no optics on it. There's no iron sights. Could they have gotten blown off? Maybe, but I feel like there would have been a little bit. I feel like they would have found them somewhere. There would have been something left of the optic or whatever. So
you still would have at least had the attaching base on the continuing rail.
Exactly. Yeah. And that wasn't there. And so this rifle system is absolutely useless. What are you going to do? Like, you can maybe hit someone 5 feet away. And then beyond that, now you're just pointing a barrel and hoping that it goes the way you want it to. So that,
and why would you even buy one thing also, guys? He bought these on the 30th of December. In other words, he bought these just days before. Why would an SF dude not have his own personal weapons that he could have brought?
Right. And so this is I actually have some contacts that know some gun owners, and they think they might have the gun shop owners, and they might have the gun shop that he supposedly bought it from. They're looking for footage right now, so trying to verify if he did actually purchase those himself. And in Colorado before he got into New Mexico, and then the other thing is that route, the route he took, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, so I looked into that, and I had somebody who actually lived in Colorado pop up on my stream when I was talking about this, and they said that that's actually a very common route, and especially for the fact that he was driving an electric vehicle. That's the route that had all of the EV recharge stations. So I thought the same thing, but when you talk about the EV vehicle thing, that actually makes sense.
That does make sense. But then my question next is why do you rent a Cybertruck? And then couple that with the email that he sent. He was paranoid, afraid for his life. All this information coming out, and then you pick
supposedly sent.
Right, you pick a rolling live streaming computer truck to go in that's easily trackable. I mean, just a lot of that doesn't make sense to me either. But unless that was a statement point. So
another thing I want to say about the rifle: why bring a rifle to an event where you plan on blowing yourself up? Right. You're not going to be able to blow yourself up and then cause more damage for the secondary assault. Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense. I mean, again, shooting yourself beforehand doesn't make any sense either. So there's those, right? And then the second reason would be, I know he wasn't an 18 Charlie, so he wasn't an engineer or demolition expert, but we all get cross trained, and you still get the training in it. You still get HME training. I mean, with $150, he could have went to a hardware store and made a far more effective bomb than he made out of mortar fireworks. And he would also know that mortar fireworks, they don't detonate, they deflagrate. So they burn down essentially, in a combustion but it's not a detonation, and it's a much slower burn or lower burn, so we're talking 2,000 milliseconds versus what C4 or a nitrate explosive would be, well over 6,000 to 8,000. So that information he would have known. So, I mean, unless the purpose was to just, he picked the Cybertruck because he knew it was bulletproof and it would stand up the best, and he only wanted to blow himself up. But again, if he only wanted to blow himself up, why did he shoot himself before he blew himself up then? So those are the questions with that. So, and that little, redneck 2-bit bomb that he made just doesn't make sense to me from a professional standpoint. So that's another big red flag for me.
It's a firebomb. That's all it is.
But you wouldn't even, I mean, you can make napalm a lot easier, and you would accomplish everything that you wanted to do to get yourself, if that was the goal, and way cheaper and way easier. And you don't have to, I don't know. So
okay, so we talked about this before we started recording, the fact that the Sean Ryan show did this. They covered all this with an Intel analyst who's the one who got this email. This video came out yesterday, and they're theorizing that this is obviously very intentional, that this was a message to be sent and not actually to injure or kill anybody, which that absolutely either whoever did this, either whoever did this was incredibly incompetent and thought this would actually do damage, which means it's not Matt, or it was Matt and he did this to send a message and knowing that it wouldn't hurt or kill anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, okay, but if say you're talking about someone who is, had a mental break and is going to go do something, and they feel like they have to do something drastic to get everybody's attention. He did get attention, obviously, but now it's attention for all the wrong reasons, and everybody's focusing on how wrong all of this feels and how none of it adds up, as opposed to why wouldn't you just go do it and not have all these inconsistencies, but just have your spectacular explosion, which would be a big explosion, right? And then, I get it. Like maybe you don't want to injure or hurt or kill anybody else, and that maybe that was a prerogative, but it just doesn't make sense to me, because it feels like the intent was missed. It didn't even break the windows of the Trump Tower. So if you're trying to create some big thing, you would think that the intent was missed with that. So that's my kind of feeling on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else do we got for inconsistencies on this entire thing?
So the big one to me, and now there is some plausible explanations for this. I'm in contact with the guys trying to get exactly when he landed into the United States, when his flight was. But
because he was actually stationed in Germany and on leave back to Colorado.
Right, and he came back to Colorado on leave. And on a side note, I don't know how true everything. Obviously, not everybody knows everything about what's happened in people's personal lives, but people very close to him, Green Berets very close to him, are very against the narrative that he was having marital issues. And I'm not going to release it because it has his child in it, but I have a video of Christmas Day that he had sent to a friend, and it's him with his baby and his wife and normal, happy people celebrating Christmas. So now, obviously, things can change a few days later. I don't know all that. That's why we're trying to figure out exactly when he flew into the United States. But the other thing is his signal safety number changed on December 29th. Now, there's also some questions about that, because the signal safety number was with the pictures that we have is from his guys that are still in Germany. And there's an 8-hour difference between Germany and Mountain Standard Time. And so he could have technically changed that, or it could have been changed, whether he did or somebody else did, on the 28th, and it would have showed up as on the 29th for those guys in Germany. So I'm trying to clarify when he flew in exactly into the United States to determine, was that him switching to an American phone from a European SIM, which was a thing in the past, but now it's really not, with the way everything, like when you go overseas now, you just pay, if you have you just add an international plan to it, and it's nothing. And especially if you're going to be stationed there, so you could have you'd have the same phone and the same SIM, and it's going to work the same. So that's the main question we have. And once we get an answer to that, because my thoughts are, and this is I think it's pretty plausible, is if his signal safety number changed and it wasn't him, then any information texted or emailed from him after that point cannot be trusted as truthful or real information, because we don't know that it was actually him sending it. And that's the whole purpose of the signal safety number, for people that don't understand that. And for people that don't know, Signal is a peer-to-peer encrypted messenger app, and it is the most secure and safest messaging app that you can get. They've done tests on it, and the FBI can't crack it. They can't get any information from it. The only way they can get anything from Signal is if they have both ends of the conversation, which would mean both phones that we're speaking,
Yeah.
So
and also, supposedly the number changed after he blew himself up too.
Oh yeah, so it did that. Now, depending on, and I think that was fairly quickly. It was very quickly after, so that could have been the FBI getting into his phone after the fact. But it also, I mean, how do they get into his phone so easily? Also,
Right.
If it's locked up, then how are they into it? So there's still questions that need to be answered about that, and those are some inconsistencies that need to be fleshed out. And I don't know that. And again, all this stuff that we're asking, these are all questions that we may not ever have answers to. It just kind of depends on what the FBI decides that they're going to give us.
Yeah, and it all just keeps that. Like I said, nothing about this story makes any sense. Nothing.
Yeah,
this is all freaking weird.
I was talking to a guy last night about it, and I was just like, every time I think I have a plausible excuse for what happened, one of the other details blows that out of the water.
Yeah.
So that's great. So there. Another thing, I don't know if you are familiar with at Anger Tab, Matt Tardio.
Yeah, because you've been sharing that, and yeah.
So he's part of. I did some of the posts of his stuff. He was approached a while. Let me see. Twice last month, he says, someone pretending to be a Green Beret from my former Operational Detachment Alpha sister team. So they had extensive knowledge of and personal information about who they were claiming to be. And he found out by getting in contact with them in a different manner that it was not them contacting him. They were trying to push the narrative that Matt was suicidal in an attempt to get them to SWAT his house, or to make an official report that he was suicidal. So that's super weird that that someone is basically social engineering their way into trying to get into the live of someone that knew Matt and create this narrative ahead of time. So like how far in the future was this being planned, and what are we missing from that? So that's a really big one. And stuff like that does happen, and we're trained to not fall for it. And Matt Tardio did not fall for it, and he took it to the right authorities. But again, like that's a huge red flag to me that they're trying to do this and create this narrative ahead of time that he's suicidal when he clearly wasn't. And now, okay, clearly wasn't, right? You never know what someone's going to do. And on another note, all those, all the videos of him they have at the charging stations that, and they're like, he's dusting this off. Why would he do that if he's going to kill himself? Well, all right, people that kill themselves generally act completely normal up until that last moment, because they haven't fully decided that they're going to kill themselves. It's been a thought, right? And they're working through it, and they're like sure they're going to do it, or pretty sure, they're like I'm going to do this. But it's not a real like, oh, now I'm going to do this, until it actually happens, until that trigger is pulled, or until whatever goes. So that's not necessarily a red flag to me as much as the other things are. So you have all that, right?
Right. And I do want to address also because the narrative that's going out is that he got into an argument with the I don't know if it's current wife. I definitely saw somebody was saying that they were at least engaged. Do you know if they were actually married or not?
From the conversations I've had with teammates, they're married and had no issues, and they had a 6-month-old son.
Okay. And also I'll clear things up because people have been putting out different narratives. They even did it on the Sean Ryan show, which I wish they would have done more research. They're saying that the wife is not the wife, the ex-wife is a big Trump hater. So people putting that
again, that's based off of like some posts she did in 2015 about not liking Trump.
Right.
A few posts, and then she doesn't say anything else for years and years. And so there's really no way to know. So that was ran really early on. My first post actually that I did, and I kind of wish I could go back and edit that. I did later in the thread say, hey, that was his ex-wife, and this likely has nothing to do with anything. Actually, it was just something that someone ran with.
Everyone who knows him, and I know you can, I think you can confirm this. Everyone's saying that he is a big Trump supporter. He doesn't hate Trump.
Right. For the consensus that I've gotten from people that know him is that he is a Trump supporter. He's not an avid, like he's not crazy, like I love Trump so much and blah, 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 blah. He's just like, I think Trump's going to actually finally do some good things. And, that kind of a Trump supporter. Right. Like you could, if you've ever looked at any of my older stuff, I'm very critical of Trump and a lot of things that he did while he was president, especially towards when COVID came out and then kind of after. And and a lot of people were saying that I hate Trump, and like I don't hate Trump. I just feel like we should hold our leaders accountable. And
I agree with that.
But I voted for Trump this time, and I supported him, and I still support him to do these things that I think need to be done. And so I feel like that's kind of the level of a Trump supporter that he was, based on the conversations I've had so far with people that knew him. So, so that, that's definitely that it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense why would you drive all the way to a Trump tower? Like you're, I don't know.
Yeah, again, it's just one more thing that just doesn't make sense. And the other narrative that I want to address is that he's got the new baby, 6-month-old baby, with his wife, and the narrative that was going out is that they had an argument over I forget the actual word, but that somebody was cheating was basically the theory. No one actually said who was cheating on who, but then. And this is brought up on the Sean Ryan show that he then tried to hook up with an ex-girlfriend. But what I really want to get at is that people are thinking that, oh, well, he's just suicidal because he found out his wife was cheating or something like that. On the Sean Ryan show, they actually said because they've been in talks with the PAO of the Army Chief of Staff. They've been in talks with the FBI. And the Army apparently even told the guys at the Sean Ryan show that the DNA came back and does not match the son. Now, that could mean one of two things. Either, in fact, the son was not actually his son, or the body that was in the truck was not actually Matt.
Yeah, and again, they did bring this up on the Sean Ryan show with him and Sam. PAO is there to protect the command, and that's it. That's their only job. They're not to protect the Army. They're not to protect the whatever. They're just there to protect the command, just like JAG is there to protect the command. That's it. JAG doesn't care about any of the other soldiers in the command. They only care about the command. So I just have a hard time believing a lot of things that are said. And then also, like, why are you releasing that right now? Like, why would that even be something that a PAO would be putting out? Like that should have waited until the FBI or the medical examiner releases, that information. So that doesn't make sense to me. But then again, we're also talking, it's PAO. They're not the best and brightest of the Army. So
yeah, it's just public affairs. Yeah, they're nothing but propaganda pretty much.
So yeah, those are big. Those are really big. The email sent from a Proton email account doesn't make a ton of sense to me, because why, if you're not being anonymous, then why would you use an anonymous mail server to try to send this stuff? I mean,
yeah,
why
don't you go ahead and break down what, for people who don't know, break down some of what was in that email.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's a bunch of, it reads like a crazy person wrote it. And then and then other people have made this link too, that the email and the manifesto that was found on his phone in the truck that they published were probably not written by the same people. There's too many inconsistencies and too many speech patterns that don't match, and too many just the things that were said. It just doesn't. Even AI went through them both and said, no, this is probably not written by the same people. So that's weird, right? All the stuff about the drones. If you look into that a little bit, I'm not a drone guy, and I've done a few things with drones, but nothing with, it's more along the lines of the SUAS stuff that he was involved with, which is small unmanned aerial systems. And those are your smaller team level drones that you would use for like reconnoitering, or they even have them that have like small explosives that you would use to give you some basically indirect type fire against enemy forces while your team is on the ground. They're not the same as these bigger drones that are doing these massive other things, right? And not the drones that he's talking about. So, and I don't even think that people don't think he had a TSSCI, but TSSCI, I mean, you have to be read on, and you have to have a need to know to be, and especially something like that with this proprietary drone technology would have been a special access program. So very few people would have been read on to that. And the only people that would have been are going to be directly involved with the development of it. So,
right. And yeah, because what he's saying about New Jersey, or the East Coast rather, is that he's saying that he had knowledge that China has had for years submarines off the East Coast of the US that's been deploying these drones. And you're right, that for him, 10th SF group to have knowledge of that, why would he know that?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. So add it to the the pile of inconsistencies that we've been coming across so far. So now we're talking about, yeah, I don't know. And from talking to some of his teammates, the level of access he would have had wouldn't have been that, and he wasn't a huge big drone guy. So like, right. I mean, he did it and he had some experience with it, but it wasn't like, that's not his whole shtick. He wasn't in a position anyways to where he would have been a part of a special access program like that. So,
right.
So yeah, that part doesn't make sense to me. And let's see what I'll go through else.
Oh, I mean, in that email, I mean, he was talking about having anti-gravity knowledge of anti-gravity technology, and also, which, again, why would a Green Beret have knowledge of anti-gravity technology?
Right. And then when you look into that technology, it's highly theoretical right now. I mean, right. Basically, it's rewriting the rules of physics.
Well, at least at our level, we think it's theoretical. Yeah. What the government actually has in fucking I can't remember the government development technology. They're like fucking 20 years ahead of us right now, so they could have all kinds of shit.
Yeah, you're right. So and everything looks like magic until it comes out. So
yeah,
crazy science, but. Yeah. So,
but again, the point is that for a fucking master sergeant in 10th SF group to have knowledge of that doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense at all, unless he was fed that information from somebody inside of that special access program. It doesn't make sense that he would have had that information. And then, and the whole, there's World War III is about to start and blah 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 blah. And I feel like there's way better ways to get your message out than the way that he ended up finally picking. So
yeah, on the Sean Ron show, they said that so this email was sent out to this guy Sam, who's the intel analyst, and they said that they think that is because He's kind of a lower level public figure, so he would actually see it. Apparently, they did find a message that was sent to the Sean Ryan show. So he did send a message there. He said he wanted to talk to Sean Ryan. He wanted to talk to Fox News. He wanted to talk to Pete Hegseth. So this email and the contacts were definitely trying to get to people who were at higher levels and definitely people who were on the right side of the political aisle. But yeah, it's still like the message, the content, the email, a lot of it doesn't make sense, but whoever it was definitely made a concerted effort trying to get this information out.
Right. And again, all of that was sent, and especially, so even the first email that was sent to Sean was sent at 10 something PM on the 29th. So the problem with the signal safety numbers, it doesn't actually give you a timestamp of when that was changed exactly. So all we can see is that it says the 29th. And like we already said, it could have potentially changed on the 28th in Mountain Standard Time, and it would have showed up on these other guys' phones as the 29th that were in Germany. So it just seems like that was all changed beforehand. So I just have a hard time believing any of that until we get some more answers. So I made the last kind of my last two little theories that I had, that this is kind of the only things that I can come up with that make sense at this point, is that either A, he did have a mental break because of one of the things that happened in his life, whatever. You can talk about those all day long, but things do happen and people handle them in certain ways. And maybe that is what happened. And he had a mental break, and then he did erratic and nonsensical things that are in no way consistent with what a career Green Beret would do, because of the mental break that happened. And then, did all of these things and then went and ended up killing himself and blowing this thing up in this fashion. So that's one theory, right? That I have a problem with it, just because, there's two different manifestos that are written by two different people, the signal stuff, like all these other little inconsistencies, that I have a problem with that one. But, weird things do happen, and people do weird things sometimes, especially if he's lost his mind. So, and PTSD is real, and dudes that have been to enough war, it changes them. So that could be an absolute possibility. And then two,
I've also been thinking, because concussions and everything else, you hear about the football players who do absolutely nuts things because they've been hit in the head so many different times. So
so that's one theory. And then my other theory is that this all kind of started happening right over the holidays, and the response to it, and whether you want to call them whatever 3-letter agency or whatever wet team or however you want to talk about it, but the team that would deal with a whistleblower in a certain fashion was the B squad, or was local assets that weren't as competent maybe as whatever. And I'm not saying these are necessarily even American. I'm not blaming our government per se, right? China has thousands and thousands of people in our country. Russia has thousands and thousands of people. He was highly involved in Ukraine. So there's a lot of different things that could be. But they use local assets to try to get this done, and then you have all this sloppy, cover up done because it was rushed and it was not done by competent people.
Okay. And so you hit on something there that I want to ask you about, because I haven't been focusing on this too much, but it is true, and I confirm this, that one of the pictures does have a pro-Ukraine shirt. He has a pro-Ukraine shirt on. Somebody who did a reply on one of your posts had a translation on there, and I went and confirmed. I looked and made sure that all the characters were the same, because Ukraine has really weird characters just like Russia. And I did the Google Translate and confirmed it does say something like "Glory to Ukraine." Right. So you said he is heavily involved in Ukraine. So can you break that down? Because obviously we're very conflicted in this country right now when it comes to that conflict. Yeah,
and I don't think people should look into that too much. 10th Group, their AO is Europe, and obviously with what's going on, Eastern Europe is going to be a big part of their focus for the last 10 years now. So he would have, especially 1/10 out of Stuttgart. I mean, they're doing a lot of stuff with Ukraine. We've had SF guys in Ukraine since 2010 or before, training their soldiers and doing all kinds of stuff. So the level of involvement, I can't say for sure. I don't know exactly. You know, if we get if the FOIA request that has his military records ever gets released, then we'll have a better idea of like how much he was in Ukraine and everything that he did. But I think that just like when you're, you know, if you're deployed in Afghanistan and you're working with 1st or 2nd SOC or whatever you were doing back then, and you're running commandos with an SF team, or if you're running SF, ANASF, you know, and you're working with those guys, you fight with these guys, you do battle with these guys, you know, you live with these guys, you eat, and you like they become your friends a little. You know, it's a bond you get from from one warrior to another. So it doesn't surprise me that he wore Ukraine shirts, because he would have Cash, get off of that. Sorry, you're gonna have to edit that out. My dog jumping on the couch. So it doesn't surprise me that a 10th group guy, especially a 1/10th guy that's stationed in Germany, would be, you know, fairly pro Ukraine, because that's who he's been working with.
Okay, so that does clarify, because obviously, like I said, those of us on the right side of the political aisle, we want to get the hell out of Ukraine, and it's all the people on the other side who are just in love of Ukraine. They want to keep the war going. So I'm glad you clarified that, because a lot of people saw that and said, "Oh, he's actually a leftist. Look at that, he loves Ukraine." But I understand exactly what you're saying. Like I served 2 tours in Iraq. I've got an Iraq flag that has my name on and shit like that. Doesn't mean that I'm fucking pro Iraq or
exactly. I have memorabilia from Afghanistan and Iraq, and you know, none of it means that I'm like I want their countries to do something. You know, no, yeah.
Right.
So I think take that with a grain of salt, because any of those guys that are over there are going to be a little bit more pro Ukraine than some of the rest of us might be, and it's not because they're left wing or whatever. In fact, most SF guys that I know, anyways, you have your few outliers here and there, especially, you know, depending on where they grew up, that might be a little more left leaning, but that's usually just socially. When you're talking about, you know, politically, how they lean, or militarily, they're going to be a little bit more right, anyways. So,
yeah, it's always shocking really whenever
that's not a thing that I would even
like that. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I would say your soft skill MOSs, they're more likely to lean left than your combat arms.
Oh yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. And it's always shocking to me. And I know we're kind of going on a tangent here, but it's always shocking to me when you see anybody who's actually served in combat and wants to be anti-gun, or, you know, wants to censor speech or anything like that. It's like, that's literally what we fought for, to protect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at
all. So let me also real quick, because you, like I said, the big reason I want to have you on was because you've actually been talking to people who actually know the guy. I don't know if we've already touched on everything, but is there anything else that you have that you've been hearing from people over there who are still active in 10th group? Yeah,
and like I said, that everyone that I've talked to, the consensus is that, one, they're flabbergasted by all of this. It's one of those, it's not something that they would ever thought that he would do. He's a smart and, you know, calm, collected type of person, which is, you know, generally there's a lot of Green Berets that are that way. And so he's in every sense of the word, your normal, you know, career Green Beret. So now, again, dudes have mental breaks, and I'm not trying to discount, you know, mental illness that happens and things that can happen from war and everything else with your social life too involved. But it's just, again, there's so many inconsistencies involved, and the fact that, you know, the people that know him believe that everything about this is so out of character, it just makes it hard for me to understand as well. So
yeah, his family's been saying the same thing too. He was a big Trump supporter. He was not a liberal. He even loved the Tesla. He loved the Cybertruck too. I mean, to try, like, if that was a message,
I mean, that's
trying to blow that up.
That's another thing, like the whole, like, texting the X's and stuff. It just doesn't even fit in very well. And then I feel like the way those text messages read is just kind of weird too, if you look into those a little bit. So
he texted the ex-girlfriend. People were saying he was trying to hook up. But he was in a good mood. Like he was saying, look at this Tesla, look at the Cybertruck. It's so cool. Yeah. And why would you say that when your plan is to try and go blow it up and kill yourself?
Yeah. None of it makes sense. I think until we see the internal video from the Tesla, the technical data behind the signal safety number switches, or match those up with when he entered the United States and, maybe switched phones or something. I think they have presented some of the technical data from the emails, so you go through that and make sure. But his phone, all the technical data from his phones, and then the complete autopsy and DNA reports. If we get all of those, maybe we'll clear up some things. It'll still be weird, but at least we'll have some concrete answers. And I think the main one is the video from the truck, because there should be video of what happened inside of that truck up until the point it exploded. So
right, because one of the theories is that was a dead body from the start.
Exactly.
Because the Tesla can't drive itself.
Right. Well, there's already a theory, and I've talked to a few different people about this, that the Tesla where he picked it up was summoned there without a driver in it. So he didn't actually meet anybody. He just got there, got into this vehicle, and left.
Right. Because that's one of the things that everyone's trying to make a connection to the New Orleans, is because they both use Temu, whatever the hell it's a.
Yeah, I mean, Temu's a massive app. It's the Airbnb of cars. So two people using that. I mean, yes, it is a coincidence. It is, like, I guess you could say it's kind of weird, but it's also not. Like, it's kind of the same thing. Like, they were at Fort Bragg at the same time. Like, oh, well, did they also go on Twitter? Because now they knew each other. No, like, they're on Twitter, dude. Like, everybody's on Twitter.
Yeah.
So,
all right. What is there anything else, or did we actually hit on everything?
I think we hit on everything so far, man. And hopefully we'll get some answers on some of this stuff. And again, I like I said, I made a post about the emails for that was on the Sean Ryan show, and I just want to iterate that I don't think that Sean Ryan or Sam did anything nefarious, and I don't think that they were faking these and trying to do anything to mess with this or whatever. I think that they're just trying to make sense of it, just like everybody else is. So the questions I ask about it are just questions. I'm just trying to poke holes and stuff and figure out what actually happened. So I think the more we do that, the better we're going to be as a society anyway. So I definitely think more talks about this and more information coming out is definitely what we need. So
and we're going to keep asking questions. We're not going to we're not going to make any certain determinations or anything like that, like some people do. We're going to stay fluid on this. We're going to stay on the information, and I hope that if anything big comes out, I hope you'll come back on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Just let me know.
Yeah, and we are talking. We're going to have you on one of our live streams someday. At the very least, we do on Thursdays. We have knife hands at 8:00 Eastern. I got my little sound effects and all that. So yeah, guys, please do stay tuned. Where can everybody find you?
So on X, Twitter, at GBNT1952 is my handle on there, and you can look through everything that I've posted and kind of get my thoughts on all this is happening. And again, just I'm poking holes and trying to figure out what's actually going on. I might be wrong. I might be right. Well,
guys, definitely give him a follow. Yeah, if you guys are over there, if you're on X, definitely give him a follow. It's how I found him when I started looking into all this information. I found his profile. He's been putting out a lot of great information, so definitely give him a follow over there. Green Beret Nap Time. Thank you so much, buddy. Again, we're gonna have you on a live stream here sometime, and we'll definitely keep on doing more of these videos whenever something else comes out. So please, if you are new here, double tap that like and subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. And remember, as always, you don't gotta be veteran to be here. Vets Talking. Just don't get butt hurt. You've been warned.
Open the door. Oh God! Ah!